All right, here we go. Good morning and welcome to our state advisory meeting for Advanced to Apprenticeship. I do have feedback coming in. Okay, looks like it went away. All righty, so thank you all for being here today. Thank you for watching the replay if you weren't able to make the live meeting.
Fritz, could you please?
I
Thank
did
you.
it. I got it.
You got it.
I had
Okay.
to wait for the green line. Like, where is it coming from? Okay. Thank you, everybody. Welcome back. I am Brandy Solomon, the Employment Project Coordinator for the Strong Center for Developmental Disabilities at the University of Rochester. I'm joined by my colleague, Pat. You want to introduce yourself?
Yes. Good morning again to all of you that I've been saying hi to as you joined. This is Pat Dowse, and I am a consultant to MACNY on this project. The partner without which we wouldn't have advanced to apprenticeship in the state that we're in. So we're excited about that. We're going to talk some more about that this morning.
And Marilee.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. Marilee Boylan, Director of Employment Programs for the Strong Center for Developmental Disabilities. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh,
And
awesome.
Colleen,
Yes, I
Colleen,
just seen
yeah.
it. Thanks for being here, Colleen and Summer, two more of our team members. Um, I had Pat doing the slides, but if you want to jump in, Colleen, for the MACNY stuff, it's up next.
Hey, good morning, everyone. My name is Colleen Flagg. I am from MACNY, the Manufacturers Association. I'm the manager of corporate services and workforce development there. And I do have an announcement. We did receive funding to be able to take our program statewide. So we're really excited about that through Empire State Development's Office of Strategic Workforce Development. So we do have plans to expand the Advanced to Apprenticeship program throughout our alliance, which I'll talk to you guys all about briefly. For those of you who don't know who MACNY is, I'll just give a brief overview of who we are, what we do. And I apologize to those who had to listen to this last week because I see a couple of you on the call. So MACNY is a not-for-profit trade association. We represent over 300 businesses and organizations across Central New York and upstate New York as well. We cover about 26 counties. The majority of our members are industrial members. And then we do also have some non-industrial service providers like banks and things like that who are part of our association. We are the largest manufacturing association in New York State. And we have been able to develop the Manufacturers Alliance of New York, which we lead. And our Manufacturers Alliance consists of several different entities just like ourselves. So we've got RTMA in Rochester. There's BNMA and MAST in the southern or in the Western New York in the southern tier. We have Center for CEG, Center for Economic Growth in Albany. There's COI, which Frank, you're a part of that. We've got the Brooklyn Chamber and Ignite Long Island, and we are planning to expand further into the southern tier, hopefully in this coming year. So we work together on lots of different efforts. And the largest effort is, of course, workforce development. You want to go to the next slide? Okay, so thought it would be useful to talk about the 6 core components of registered apprenticeship. Our Advanced to Apprenticeship program is designed to be a pathway for registered apprenticeship and advanced manufacturing trades. So do you want to just let everyone know what a registered apprenticeship program is? So the first component of registered apprenticeship is that we have business involvement. So an apprentice has to be employed at a company in order to participate in an apprenticeship program. So that's really important to note. It's not an internship. It's not a paid work experience. It is a job first and foremost. Apprentices are employees. They are paid wages. And you also have to have a sponsor of registered apprenticeship programs in order to start one. So MACNY is what's called a group sponsor of registered apprenticeship. And we also have several of our alliance partners are also group sponsors of registered apprenticeship. And that means we provide all the administrative support for companies to be able to provide this type of on-the-job training to their employees. So we are registered with the state of New York to be able to provide these programs. The second component is related technical instruction. So think of this as classroom training. So each trade you are required to go through a certain amount of technical instruction in a classroom environment in order to meet the requirements of your apprenticeship program. Each trade has what's called a trade outline that delineates what types of related technical instruction would count towards your trade. So yes, an English class is really great, but if it's not on the trade outline as accepted instruction, then it typically doesn't count towards your related technical instruction requirements. And in order to fulfill those, it's typically about one class per semester in a 3-credit or 4-credit course that will get you where you need to be in terms of your related technical instruction for your trade. The third component is structured on-the-job training. So you have to complete and that's the meat of the apprenticeship. So it is on site with the employer. You're going through your trade outline and all the different work processes that you need to be trained in, and you're recording those hours that you're working in those different work processes while you're on the job. The fourth is a reward for skill gains. So you're required to receive at least one raise throughout the length of your apprenticeship. Some employers will they're allowed to determine what the reward structure is. So one employer might say, okay, I'll give you one raise during the length of your apprenticeship, but another one might say, I'll give you a raise every 3 months or 6 months. So it really just is dependent on the employer. But the good thing is it is in writing and the employer is required to follow that. So if you're one of those people who really hates asking for raises, it's kind of built in, so it's nice for the apprentice. The fifth is a national occupational credential. So apprentices earn what's called a journey worker card. I'm sure you guys have heard of journey worker plumbers or carpenters before, but it's the same for advanced manufacturing trades. So you do earn a card that comes from the state of New York. It's not something that your employer like prints out on their printer and gives to you. It's an official certification that you receive from the state of New York in this case. It is a portable credential too, so it counts anywhere in the United States, just like your college diploma would. The sixth component is that there is mentorship involved. It's a formalized mentorship program. So as part of that on-the-job training, excuse me, you have a mentor who works with you one-on-one. That is supplied by the employer. So typically that person is considered at least at journey worker level, and they kind of train you on all the different work processes on the job. So that person isn't necessarily standing next to you the entire time and micromanaging you, but they are available for you to be able to learn those different components that you need to become an expert. So just some statistics, and there's also, you can see on the screen there what our alliance partners, where they're located, and they do span the entire state, and we will be expanding this program through those alliance partners. So let's see, we do have about 900 registered apprentices right now that's statewide, over 200 signatory companies, and 24 different trades that are offered. In Central New York alone, we've got 113 active registered apprentices. Do you want to skip to the next page? So this is the list of different trades that are approved through our alliance. So there's anything from a brewer distiller, which is popular, I think, in the capital region, all the way down to a welder. And the trades have different time frames too. So the shortest trade is the industrial manufacturing technician trade. It's only 16 months. It can be shortened to 12 months if you've got some previous experience. So a lot of times what employers will do is put you through a 90-day probationary period. And then at the end of that probation period, they'll put you into an apprenticeship program if you're successful. And then they can, take those 3 months you spent on probation and apply it towards your trade. So you're not necessarily losing out on that time, if that's the way the employer structures things. And the industrial manufacturing technician, can you go back? Thanks. The industrial manufacturing technician trade is stackable to a lot of these other trades, which is really great. So it provides some stepping stones for folks to get into some of those longer trades, like the manufacturing engineering technician trade, for instance, which is 4 years. So you go through that IMT trade, the 16 months, and then you can apply the time you spent in your IMT trade towards your manufacturing and engineering technician trade if your employer allows it, which is really nice. So stackable credentials is a part of this program. Okay. All right. So we started our pre-apprenticeship programs in the last year and a half. We've had our registered apprenticeship program since it says 2017 there. I think we registered it in 2016, but it didn't really take off until 2017. And these are really important pipelines for us. We did receive a different federal grant earlier this year, again, to expand registered apprenticeship across the state. So we are tasked with adding 800 new apprentices into our program in the next couple of years. And we see these two programs, Advanced to Apprenticeship and Real Life Rosies, which is our other pre-apprenticeship program, as pipelines into those apprenticeships. So as you all know, we're seeing a resurgence, a renaissance of manufacturing in New York State, particularly along the thruway, the corridor. And we really do need all these extra people to be able to fill some of these middle skilled roles, especially with Micron coming to Central New York. That's something that we think about a lot, how our community is going to change and how there's going to be a lot of new opportunities for people to get into these skilled trades. And these are just some ways to be able to do it. So we're really happy to have Advanced to Apprenticeship as part of our talent development strategy and also Real Life Rosie. So they're both considered direct entry programs. So they are registered with the state of New York as well. We had to make sure that we met all of the requirements for direct entry. And as the group sponsor, we are guaranteeing interviews with signatory companies and advanced manufacturing for the graduates of these programs. So these are job interviews. And for Real Life Rosies, since its inception, those graduates have been given 4 to 6 job interviews with different companies during each cohort. And we are now aligning Advanced to Apprenticeship to be able to offer the same amount of opportunities as well. Okay.
Thank you, Colleen. Oh, sorry.
Oh, just one other point for direct entry. The programs have to, if you want to utilize the direct entry programs as a sponsor of registered apprenticeship, you do have to add it to your affirmative action plan, which I know doesn't mean a lot to a lot of you, but I know it probably means something to Frank. All right.
Nope.
That's it.
No, but I think, Colleen, it is important in regards to everyone that has joined us in the advisory capacity. Shy Frank is looking at and has been engaged in working with businesses who would be interested in diversifying their workforce. So understanding that is a requirement will help them figure out the benefits to what, moving down this pathway with us to add individuals with disabilities to an apprenticeship opportunity, right?
They'll have to work with the alliance partner in their region to be able to participate.
Figure that out. Okay, cool.
Thank you, Colleen. I know you jumped on and we kind of put you on, but thank you so much. So Advanced to Apprenticeship in Mohawk Valley at Mohawk Valley Community College this fall was able to be offered in conjunction with the Rosie's program that Colleen was just speaking of. So we had Advanced to Apprenticeship students and Rosie students all working together for their basic manufacturing course pre-apprenticeship training. The cohort ends this week on December 12th. And there were initially 10 participants, but there are 8 expected to graduate. The students have been going on tours via Magni, and they already started having their interview days. Some of the tours and interview information is listed there. And the other cool part is the students have been able to tap into the curriculum for certified manufacturing associate to be able to sit for that credentialing, as well as be offered different incentives for program completion, certification earned, as well as an incentive for being employed. The other cool part about Advanced to Apprenticeship now being with Magni and aligning with Rosie's are the additional supportive services. So with A2A, we've made sure that that wraparound support with the Disability Resource Coordinator was there, and the linkage to services like Access VR or OPWDD was there based on a student's need and eligibility. But there's also opportunity for students to tap into transportation support, as well as childcare support, clothing support, and there's even a program through Working Solutions that offers students in need laptops to help them complete their certifications with the program. There was a A2A graduation held on November 19th at Mohawk Valley. All of the A2A graduates, one from Rochester, as well as the two cohorts that have happened in Mohawk Valley, were invited to participate. And I believe Wolfspeed received award for being an A2A champion. Uh-oh, can we advance? Maybe. There we go. All right. Like click, click, click. So, thank you, Colleen, for coming in and giving us that great update. I know we found out, I believe Friday morning, but either way, I'm so excited that the program has funding for sustainability to not only continue where it was incepted, but also to grow across the state, which is very exciting to hear how Macne has a plan to have 800 apprentices across our state, and that is so great that A2A is involved in that. Currently, the cohort 4 is under development. We are, Macne is working with one of the schools in the Utica area called Proctor High School, and there will be the opportunity for that youth component, the high school seniors who aren't planning to go to college, getting them tapped into this opportunity of related instruction and becoming a registered apprentice. And as you seen earlier, there are so many different trades involved with registered apprentice that, there got to be something for the students there, and linking them early and sooner is definitely the plan. The spring cohort is looking to start in February, and it will be a 3-night-a-week opportunity with the soft skills and technical instruction happening on Wednesdays and Thursdays, and Friday being that optional tutoring day study hall that continues to find value. There will continue to be those job shadow, company tours, and opportunity for summer employment experience with the youth who are able to tap into those internships. We are also looking at developing a teacher support staff, so those employment support professionals who will potentially be working with some of the students as job coaches on the job, making sure that they can tour these different manufacturing facilities in their area. We're currently looking and asking for details on what would be the best way to go about it, the time of year, if programs would need transportation, and we gave the same pitch on the regional level, but I definitely just wanted to continue to share that information on the state level, that these are the things that are in the works. We have that spring cohort 4 in the works, as well as tours for teachers and support staff.
Brandy, I saw Michelle Jordan had joined us, and it brings to mind the initiatives that are happening at across the state with employment and training program opportunities with under the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities. I'm sure she's got her brain spinning right now, thinking about all the cool things that we could potentially connect dots to the staff, the job coaches and job developers that are part of an ETP process. And so, Michelle, I'm putting a pitch out that maybe you and I, after there was also a request for a resource map. So trying to figure out how to start this process versus just kind of throwing darts at balloons on a wall. Maybe we could, you could help me think through that, and how else we might be able to look at that transition work that needs to get done.
Of course.
Thanks. Not like putting you on the spot, woman, but I know that's the way your brain works. So
Yeah, absolutely.
okay, cool.
So switching gears just a little bit to Rochester. So we continue to work with the Center for Workforce Development. We currently have a student involved in the fall course of welding, and though that class is going to end January 28th, and spring classes will promptly be starting in February on the 11th. We have a student who is currently working with one of the provider agencies in our area, and they're working on returning to Access VR to be able to continue with vocational supports now that they have this welding training. It is a little pivot from what they've been doing, but they had really a natural interest in welding by doing many things and tinkering in their garage before they even got into the program. So it really has been a great match to help upskill them. We continue to do the open houses with Center for Workforce Development, as well as offer preview days as students who are interested need to make sure they are able to really experience the immersion of the class before they enroll. We are continuing at CWD to work with their courses of manufacturing fundamentals, machining fundamentals, manufacturing technician, as well as welding, and grant support is available through Rochester Works training grants, our workforce board, as well as Access VR based on eligibility, and sometimes there's even scholarships. So one of the cool things that has happened with the Center for Workforce Development is in their participation with us in learning about all of the great work that's going on with Advanced to Apprenticeship at Mohawk Valley. Remember, at Mohawk Valley, we were able to work together to be able to develop a basic manufacturing course for pre-apprenticeship training, where at the Center for Workforce Development here in Rochester, we pushed into existing courses. Well, now Career Launch is on the horizon. So Center for Workforce Development is looking to create a pre-career training program that utilizes the similar elements that has been a part of Advanced to Apprenticeship, that soft skill development, as well as giving some of that academic gap instruction, things that are industry specific. So if someone is struggling with math that is needed for their trade, that will be a part of this program, as well as overall career exploration. It was founded that the different training programs at Center for Workforce Development, people come into them directly and typically don't really have that opportunity to explore what else is out there. They kind of just are like, oh, I think I want to be a welder, I'm going to welding. So this is really that step before the training program to really make sure that students have that opportunity to get the upskills they need and the soft skills in academics, and then explore before going into their training. On last week, I was able to present alongside Shauna, the Director of Workforce Development, as well as another colleague, to the pupil personnel board.
Services. Yep.
Services board, which is basically a collection of the different, oh my goodness, superintendents, I think is the word.
They're administrators.
Oh, there you go.
They're
Great.
all
Thank you.
administrators, yes,
I'm glad
that
you're here because I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm
oversee
losing.
pupil services, which is a lot of the special education
Yes.
departments.
Thank you, Shauna. Do you want
You're
to
welcome.
just talk a little bit about how that meeting went?
Yes, and
Please.
you're doing a wonderful job. I think it went well. I think that for sometimes when we talk to educators, it's like the first time that they've really heard about Micron coming to Central New York and the impact that that's going to have on our workforce. So Brandy and I presented on, what we're currently working on in terms of A2A and support in the classes. But then we talked we presented a little bit about what's coming in our, to this area in terms of manufacturing and the need that there's going to be in this area. And a little bit about the hidden workforce and how we need to really tap into that hidden workforce and get people to explore careers in areas of demand, which is I think when you're talking to, a group that isn't in that work day to day, it's new. Like I asked them to raise their hands on how many people knew about Micron. And Brandy, were you there for that part? I think only maybe one person knew about Micron. Um, and so it's just, I think the more that we can do to talk to educators and groups of educators and administrators and people who are in those types of positions, the better. So I think they liked the concept. It was new to them. Career Launch is a concept right now because we really are looking for funding for something like this. Um, so I thought it went very well. They were asking really good questions, I think. So I don't, yeah.
I agree. I agree. So it's just we're kind of like in a wait and see what happens in terms of getting that grant funding, and then potentially, currently the grant funding is for out of school youth, but there hopefully is the potential in the future to move this same concept to some students who are in school as well, looking for an alternative pathway from college. So we have been
Shauna,
on the, oh, mhm.
I just want to add, I just want to ask a question and kind of with everybody else that's thinking on this at a state advisory level. And I saw Lauren is on the call too from the commission. We as a system have under VR, under WIOA funds, the opportunity to support people that are potentially eligible for VR. And you indicated, Shauna, that this program was going to support more students, if not all students that might have a 504 or an IEP pathway to graduation, and or that's where they were coming from. I'm just wondering whether or not we could explore the value or the potential for potentially eligible funding process under PREETS in VR's system to support a student through this process, Shauna. So I don't know if anybody else wants to react to that with me thinking about this, but maybe there's a way to utilize the vendors, the VR vendors in a region that have it under their CRS contract. And we just recently saw that the CRS contract was position. It was sent out. They're looking for more vendors again. So maybe there's
Yes.
other ways for you all to think about becoming a vendor and or looking at whether or not more BOCES programs could be using the PREETS funding to do that. So just food for thought for everyone to think about potentially eligible services, the new redesign, not redesign, but just the fact that VR has put the CRS contract out again because it needs more vendors to do those kinds of services. Perhaps we could also explore utilizing one of our state partners to do this.
Yeah, thank you, Pat. This is Lauren from the Commission for the Blind. As I was going through this and listening, I was thinking the same thing. This falls for us under pre-employment transition services.
Yeah.
So this would be something that, for our students, we would look to fund. So
I would
think
I
there
would
could be a
love for
partnership there.
someone to help me with that because that's new to me. But I did read through it. I read through you know, the what is it called? The RF, it's an RFP, right?
Yep.
For that.
Community rehabilitation services. Yep.
I will say it is completely new to me. I need I need to meet with someone so they can help me to understand like all of that.
Okay.
Because I know that pre-eds is part of that. Like I know that that's one of the services. I know that assessment is one of the vocational assessments is one of the services, but like it was overwhelming. Reading through that was very overwhelming.
It can be. It can be.
Uh-huh.
I'll reach back out to you, Shauna. Not a problem. Between all of us on the rehab side, we can support you.
Okay. All right. Thank
And
you.
if anybody else has any thoughts in regards to other places around the state, since we are taking A2A and Rosie's around the state, being able to get vendors into this market is the intent behind VR reissuing this RFP. They absolutely, especially up in the North Country, I learned Oswego, Essex County, those counties are indeed needing, and it's so the traditional rehab vendor has not applied for all the right reasons, perhaps. There are requirements within that, but I've broached that subject with some folks too, as to whether or not we might be able to share professionals across the system so that we don't not have vendors in our North Country, where bringing a master's level rehabilitation counselor into that area might be prohibitive in regards to how many people might get served. So food for thought, but just we'll put that back on the table here to make sure an opportunity isn't lost. And VR indeed is interested in creating opportunities, not limiting them. So
Thank you.
cool.
So the last part that I want to make sure that I add about Career Launch is that it is a program looking to use WorkKeys assessment to make sure that students are eligible for that National Career Readiness Certificate that comes as a part of that process. So moving away from that TABE, the test for adult basic education, into the WorkKeys, which has more alignment with occupations as it's tied into ONAP. So we have been on the road. Mary Lee, would you like to talk about the paper?
Can you repeat that, Brandy?
Hello, can you? Okay, talk the paper.
Oh, okay, the paper. We created a summary paper from the first two cohorts, and the idea behind the paper was to really give a framework for why did we start this model, who were the partners, and really kind of give an outline of all the different component pieces, with a hope that we could share this information with other people across the country to see if to gain some traction, to give people kind of to plant some seeds and ideas of how they can collaborate together and utilize the current state funding resources to kind of braid and create something that really will help industry have more of a pipeline with people, as we were talking about, hidden potential employees, to make sure that people with disabilities are at the table. So this paper is finalized. So we will be sending that out along with the PowerPoint of this presentation. So we'll share that with you, and feel free to share it with other people. Yeah, we're just wanting to plant more seeds.
And we also were able to present on a national and a state level about Advanced to Apprenticeship. Mary Lee and I did a poster presentation at the Association for University Centers on Disabilities in DC. And it was received well. We actually got to chat with another program in, I think Virginia. I might be saying the wrong state, but they were doing a pre-apprenticeship program as well for childcare. So it was a different area, but at the same time, very cool to see the traction that is being developed, not only statewide, but nationally behind apprenticeship. And in New York, we were able to present, Franca and Pat and I, at the Continuing Education Association of New York conference. And that was widely and well received as well by the different professional at the different community colleges across our state, being able to learn about what we're doing and, like Marilee said, planting those seeds to get more people involved with this work, especially as they're tapping into our hidden workforce. Next, I just wanted to make sure I threw in some great pictures of past graduates from Advanced to Apprenticeship. We have our first welder student at the Center for Workforce Development and some shots of OSHA Day for our cohorts 1 and 2. And our next steps are, Kat, continuing with the
Thank you. And I just wanted to reinforce the value of participating with Franca, who is a leader in the community college arena around manufacturing, and then getting this great news about our continuing the economic development funds to go. The partners around the state, along with the alliance members, will be the community colleges. So we now have an entree there. So we're excited about that too, to tell you guys. But in the meanwhile, what was one of our goals was to work to find out if there were other entities in our state, notwithstanding anywhere else, but in our state that were also focused on the work that we were doing in pre-apprenticeship, direct entry, and into apprenticeships in manufacturing. And we already knew about Frank because Frank Fallon from Falla Technologies was our inspiration in so many ways and has been along the line with his work at Steps, which is really based right in his own company. Although I know I would love for him to give us a couple of minutes of where Steps is at this point, since you were the beginning. But we also invited Uniquely Abled, which is home based in California, but now has a program happening at Hudson Valley. SUNY Ulster, Barb Rear also was a inspiration to some of the work that we've done in regards to setting up curriculum and process. And then now what's going on at SUNY Mohawk Valley Community College, obviously being the lead. And then a really, really cool program called YamTech in Rochester, again, overseen by a business owner himself, in order to create opportunities for pre-apprenticeship and apprenticeship in manufacturing. So we meet on a quarterly basis in an effort to kind of keep each other apprised of what's going on, who's doing what. Do we have any questions as we look at the work that on a state level is being done now that New York has Executive Order 40, claiming us to be an employment first state. Today on our call, I see Mary Beth Schneider, who is helping the state look at building state internships that could lead to exploration in different ways that might be tied to any and all of this. So we're excited about that and having Mary Beth join our advisory group here. But Frank, would you share a little bit about what's going on with Steps, just so people are aware of the great stuff that's happening in the Hudson Valley?
Sure. Let me first say that let me speak as a manufacturer. We are advanced manufacturer down here in the Hudson Valley. We are a small manufacturing company that's been in business for 79 years. And we don't do repetitive work like most manufacturers. Make a product and they can train people, especially ones that are low skilled, to repetitively do something. We invent new technologies for the semiconductor industry, and it's all confidential because we're working on the next generation of technology and helping them build it. So we have been very successful in hiring individuals that require pre-apprenticeship training to go into these jobs because they are not repetitive and they have to learn how to work at very high skill levels. And we've had some successes in that area. So bottom line is, as a manufacturer, let me just say that apprenticeships are key to what we have to do to train our skilled staff. And what we saw 7, 8 years ago is that we couldn't find, and we still even today can't find enough people to put into our apprenticeship training programs, which we pay for, and as was explained earlier, they range between 18 months to 4 years. So we had to start creating a pre-apprenticeship program to kind of start finding and qualifying candidates that can then be further trained by our master craftsmen. And that's what we call the STEPS program. And we've been working with the Rochester Institute of Strong Technology, the Strong Institute at Rochester University about building the apprenticeship program, which you now see is the A to advanced to apprenticeships. And this is far exceeding my expectations of what I ever would have hoped we could create as industry works with the disability agencies to develop this type of program. So this is what we need. And I'm now working with some of the community colleges down in our Hudson Valley region to start doing this same program that's been presented to you. This is significant. And I'm so pleased to be on this advisory board. And this is industry saying that this is what we need. I should also mention that I'm the workforce chair for the Council of Industry, which is the manufacturing association down here in the Hudson Valley. And I'm so positive about what's being presented here. So I do want to thank Marilee and Pat and Randy for making this happen, and Colleen at MACNY. She gave a great presentation on what apprenticeships are at the start of this presentation. So this is really great, and I thank everybody for doing that.
Thank you, Frank.
Thank you,
Back to you.
Frank.
Back to you, Brandy.
All right. Feel like we're on the news. All right. So that is the meat, and I got a few potatoes at the back end, but thank you all for being in support of Advanced to Apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship overall. As we continue to grow, we'll continue to tap into the advisory board, even as MACNY is taking over lead of Advanced to Apprenticeship, making sure that recruitment and marketing continues with additional cohorts. If there was anyone new who joined, I made sure to add the demographic survey. Of course, all of this information is going to come to you via email once the recording is ready. So if you are new to our advisory board, we would love for you to do an optional demographic survey, as our current funders through the Council of Developmental Disability need that information to be able to show how far their reach goes when it comes to the program development that they are funding. I wanted to give a shout out for MACNY that they are doing a Discover the Benefits of Apprenticeship webinar. It actually is tomorrow, so there's a little time left if anyone wanted to join it, or if you wanted to send somebody there in order to get information similar to what Colleen gave today, but of course more about how businesses can get involved, but also how people can, understand more about what registered apprenticeship is. And we at the Strong Center for Developmental Disabilities are hosting a benefit planning in the new year webinar. It will be next month. I'll make sure that links are included in your email, and I also could drop them in the chat right now if anyone wanted to not only register for yourself, but maybe register someone else. As we know, benefits can be seen as a barrier to employment for some people who are receiving those type of funding in their life, especially in relation to maintaining Medicaid for insurance purposes. And we want to educate people and make sure they understand that you can work and be able to support yourself as well with the different initiatives and resources that are available around benefits, especially in our state. So at this time, if there are any questions or thoughts from our advisors, let us know. Anything you want to add, Marilee or Pat?
Actually, I wanted to ask, I saw Alan Gallagher was on the call with us. Is he still there? Yes, he is. Hi, Alan.
He is still there.
He
Hi.
is still there. Thank you, friend. One of the questions that came up from Colleen and MACNY as we move around the state was the ability to create resource maps for their alliance. And that makes me think of the work that the disability resource coordinators are asked to do. Do you think that's something we could tap into so we don't duplicate work that may have already been done? Is that reasonable to consider? And do I need to formally request it, or having this conversation and putting you on the spot is good enough?
Well, I mean, the resource maps were, were created, I mean, over the course of several years. So they probably are updating them periodically. And I think it would
Right.
just be a matter of getting connected with Carrie and Amanda and whatever respective DRC is in the, is in the area that we need that resource map for. So,
Okay.
and certainly I don't think it's like top secret stuff. So I think we could definitely tap into that already, laid groundwork for sure.
Awesome. So just talk to Carrie and Amanda. Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thank you.
Reach out to them. Yep. We'd be happy to help out.
Okay. I mean, it's just, they're great tools that
Yep.
that the state paid for, and the DRCs did an amazing job with all that. I mean, they didn't call them resource maps, they called them asset maps, right? Or something
Yep.
like that,
Yep.
as I recall. So why do extra work when they're already there? That would
Yeah.
be cool. Okay.
Yeah. And
Thank
they're
you, dear.
grouped into lots of categories. They're really robust and, thorough.
Right.
So definitely check them out. So
Okay. Awesome. That
Mhm.
will save a lot of time and effort. Thank you, dear.
For sure.
Okay. That was my only question. Brandy, I didn't know if anybody else has thoughts regarding moving into 2025. We are still here. We have a year left of our projects. Don't give up on us. We expect to see you continue meeting quarterly with all of you as you're working. We have our most integrated settings council meeting coming up this week in regards to what the plans are for the state plan around that, and employment is a component to that. So we'll be watching to make sure that the work that we move forward with this is in alignment with that. That did make a lot of sense what I just said. Those were really an interesting group of sentences. Sorry, but nonetheless, there's a plan at the state level, and certainly apprenticeship is a part of that. And I found it intriguing, Shauna, when you said that most educators aren't even aware of what's going on in the manufacturing world. Yet it's the most prolific. I mean, it's going to be the biggest business that's going to need support in a workforce. Interesting.
It's incredible actually to think about it, because we're so right. It's so in our faces all the time. So it just shows you how much more we really need to do some outreach to educators so that they realize where the opportunities are.
Let me also just jump in here for a second and go with what you're talking about. So we just hired a young man to start work here today, who's on the spectrum, and he wants to be working in IT, information technology. And if you look at some of the national data and programs that are out there to try to bring individuals with barriers to employment, as well as that have disabilities, into high-skilled jobs, they talk about information technology. And when we get together as manufacturers, and we've talked about this, we had a board meeting last week, and this came up in our discussions. It's easy for IT to train people. You just have to buy a computer, you gotta use your software, and you put them in front of a computer, and they sit there all day. And manufacturing is just the opposite. Yeah, you run computer controlled machines, and you have to, but you're running around all day long, in these factories. You're not sitting down, you're working. It's all different types of measurements of is your product correct that you're making. So it's so much more complicated that it's a real struggle to get young people to think about something else than sitting in front of a computer, because that's a lot of what's happening with youth today. And one of the things that really compounds this is the apprenticeships that we have are very strictly regulated by New York State Department of Labor. So we have to teach these higher skills, and it takes a lot of effort to do that, especially because it's not simple. Get gadgets that you put in a computer, and next thing you know, you have a training program that it has to be hands-on training. So one of the things I'd like to just mention, because this is a very good group of individuals that are working with individuals with disabilities, is we really, as manufacturers, have really good health benefits, 401k plans, et cetera, et cetera. And we really like to train, especially here at FALA, if someone works here for 40 hours a week, okay? And it was just brought up about, the next meeting that you're going to have about individuals losing benefits because the more they work, they put at jeopardy some of these support services that they're getting now. It really hurts our training because you have to be immersed in the work that we do, see how it develops every day. It's always changing. There's always new training programs, especially as we try to advance young people from entry-level jobs up into higher skilled jobs. It's really a 40-hour-a-week job, and most of the students that we work with that come out of high school and also adults that have disabilities do not want to work 40 hours a week. We have another young man that's being supported by Access VR. They're preparing him now. He'll be starting the second week in January, and he's going to start at 6 hours a work a day for 5 days a week. He doesn't want to work for 8 hours a day, but we have the deal with him, his support agency, as well as with Access VR, that in this work experience, that will be a 3-month work experience. By the end of that, he has to be working 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. And he's a brilliant kid. He was in my STEPS program. He was earlier mentioned this NCRC, which is a certification, the ACT certification for cognitive. He scored super. He's like one of the top kids in my program that I've ever trained. So you've got brilliant kids, but they got to also learn that there's a work ethic because it is physical work. It's not just sitting in front of a computer all day. So I'm really happy that Pat mentioned that, manufacturing has really good jobs, and what you're building here is not easy. It's not easy to do what we're doing, but industry working with you folks is going to make this happen. And that's the reality of what we have to do. So hopefully that gives you some insights on what manufacturers also are thinking and needing here. Thank you.
Thank you, Frank. I think it has become very, very apparent that we talk a real good talk, but now we've got to walk the walk. We've got to bring people themselves, moms and dads and caregivers and the agencies that might want to create the support. I challenged some colleagues from the Office of Mental Health the other day when we were talking about benefits advisement, and I said, stop talking about benefits. The word benefit is a negative. We need to talk about financial planning and financial security and talking about the same things that we talk to every other kid about in regards to not getting debt and that we can get training and things like that. We've got to change the nomenclature so there isn't this fear about working and creating the capacity and working even with maybe you businesses to look at, you've got great benefits, but how do those benefits factor in with the other things that somebody who needs Medicaid in order to fund their medicines and your coverage may not be? Who's teaching you guys about that kind of stuff is, I think, the future as well. Is it has to go both ways. We can't just expect the individuals who have a disability to figure it all out for themselves. And we often do. And so being able to work closer with you and other manufacturing businesses around those kinds of things could be, I think, a very exciting way to maybe bridge this gap of working only 4 or 5 hours a week, a day, and not having a full-time paycheck, I mean, that kind of thing too. It's a fear factor because of the way the system has been built. So we're looking forward to exploring more of that with you, Frank, and other manufacturers. So maybe there's even a potential for us to look at building, working with other manufacturers in the Hudson Valley that you work with on a regular basis as small and medium-sized manufacturers. Bigger companies have the ability, I think, sometimes to do many more things, but they don't because they just don't. But you guys, small and medium-sized businesses that's your bread and butter, you know what I mean? To get these guys and gals in, we need to help you figure out how to bridge some of those gaps too. So keep asking us those challenging questions and make us do something for you is what I've always valued as you being part of our advisory team.
Pat and Brandy, I just wanted to
Yeah.
just say thank you to MACNY. Our grant, we have 1 year left in our grant, and MACNY has really taken the torch for this model. And so that is our sustainability plan. And there's nothing more powerful than an employer taking up the torch and saying, okay, people with disabilities is a part of our hidden workforce, and we really need to do this. And when you have business talking to business, there's nothing more powerful than that to really advance what we're trying to do. So again, I just want to say thank you, Colleen. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, Macney, because this is what really creates change in opportunities for people. So thank you. Really, really appreciate it.
Yay, us. Okay, so we will be back in 3 months with some more good news, but we challenge each and every one of you as things come up. If you have questions, if you want something specific brought to your agency, if you're training people, I know the Office of People with Developmental Disabilities, the Office of Mental Health quite often provide training. Lauren, if there's something in particular, we've talked about this before, and really have not really followed through perhaps, we want to make sure that we connect and offer information about manufacturing to you, each of you in the roles that you have with our partners here for the project. It won't change if we don't kind of push the envelope. So let us know what we can do. It doesn't need to be the traditional stuff. It can be anything and everything. We'll give it a shot. So we're open to it. We have people like Frank, our partners in Mohawk Valley, and as well in Rochester in the Monroe County, to do things around manufacturing. If you want some information like Frank was just talking about, what does it take to explain to job coaches, to job developers, we're open to that idea. Marilee has a dream to teach it, to bring every single school counselor information about the world of manufacturing as a job opportunity for anyone, kids with and without disabilities, because we need that workforce to be built throughout our state if we're going to be successful in the future. So just let us know what we can do. So it's we'll do for you too. We got that resource maps. We can get those resource maps from Macney, but maybe in the process, we'll also share it with everybody on the advisory, so you can see the things that are being built by the Department of Labor's disability resource coordinators too.
Thank you all for those updates. I did want to give a shout out now that I'm not presenting. I can see that Lindsay, who is the new workforce development specialist at Macney with the Advanced to Apprenticeship focus, is online. So thank you for being here and being able to hear everything on the state level. And we look forward to seeing you all again in 3 months. Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Pat, would
Thanks,
you be
everybody.
able to stay on for 1 second?
Actually, Shauna,
Do you have
I'll
a-
call you.
You
I'll call you.
okay? Do you have
Yep.
okay?